for this matchup, and let's see if it's going to play a factor in this game or not, Kyle. I'm so excited. Let's get down to the table. Azul Garcia Griego going up against Natalie Millar. One player will move on, the other will go home, and it looks like we're getting right into things. It does look like Natalie will be going first, and Azul has a pretty good hand for his first turn.
Yeah, looks good. Natalie, on the other hand, starts with that Cobalion GX. I don't know if Iron Rule GX is the thing you want to use right away, but we might be seeing an early one once again. The important thing for this matchup for Natalie is getting Darkness Energy in the discard pile and getting Galarian Moltres V down as soon as possible. You need to be using that Dire Flame Wings ability every turn to build up energy. Even if you have multiple Galarian Moltres V in turn, only one of them can use that ability every turn. So it's very crucial to power up that 3 energy attack. You need to be using that ability every turn, starting from the first turn.
And right away, that's what she's going to grab. Galarian Moltres V being the choice off of Quick Ball and going to go ahead and attach to it. And right away, she's threatening a turn 2 Aura Burn to start attacking. Now, Azul here, really just has options to do whatever he wants. He could go for the Horror House GX here. Natalie doesn't have an Air Balloon on her Cobalion. There's not even another Dark Energy, I don't think. Yeah, in the discard pile, it doesn't look like it. So it's not like even if she could find a way to switch, she'd be able to just get that easy response. So Horror House GX just buys Azul a turn and gives him the option to, you know, just kind of get so many energies in play that it could be tough for Natalie to deal with.
Yeah, this is a great opening hand for Azul. I think he's going to play out his entire hand and research for a full 7. Again, getting a high 5 maybe.
You love to see it.
It just, yeah, it looks like he'll be able to play down every single card, fill up his bench with all sorts of basic Pokemon. But the question is, which ones will he go for? Obviously, in every matchup, you do want the Shadow Rider Calyrex on your bench, but will he go for something like the All Creamy? You know, it has weakness to metal instead of darkness, so it's a potentially good attacker against Galarian Moltres V. Or you do have that Mewtwo and Mew GX, which also does not have a weakness to darkness. So I think it'll be interesting to see just how heavy he wants to go on putting Shadow Riders into play when those are easily knocked out by Galarian Moltres V in later turns.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because they are easily KO'd, but at the same time, it's one of the most important cards in your entire deck because you rely on that Underworld Door ability to accelerate your energy, to draw you cards. It just boosts the damage that you can do with Max Geist later on in the game. So while they are easily KO'd, it is still something that is pretty necessary to get out and get rolling. Interestingly enough, Azul did not grab an energy there off of the Fog Crystal. Would have maybe expected to see that, but that actually does, it looks like Azul's not going to go with the Horror House right away, Kyle.
Yeah, I think it's very risky in this matchup. It's a 3-prize liability, right?
Sure.
It just gets knocked out by Galarian Moltres V. Sure, it's nice to make your opponent skip a turn, but is it really worth it in the long run? I don't know.
It may not be, and Azul seems to think that's not the case. And speaking of, you know, a multiple prize liability, Azul's just going to leave this Marshadow in the active, trying to only give up 1 prize card to this Moltres. And maybe Azul is going to try to pull off those plays with the Marshadow that we talked about. You know, definitely is going to eye up that Alcremie. You mentioned that, Kyle, as being a good option, not being weak to dark. He'll definitely try to use, he's got a lot of tricks that he can utilize in this game to try to, you know, make sure that he's not playing into easy KOs for Natalie.
Yep, this is, though, where a card like Escape Rope could come up big. If you Escape Rope, you force one of those Pokemon V to come up off the bench. You get an easy 2-prize knockout with your Galarian Moltres V. We'll see if that's what Natalie wants to go for, because it feels really bad to knock out this Marshadow. I don't know if it'll do anything in the long term, taking this 1 prize, and it does put your Moltres in danger of getting knocked out by a potential Alcremie VMAX. It's not the easiest thing to pull off for Azul, but he certainly could. So we'll see what Natalie wants to do here. We could just see the good old Iron Rule GX as well. And this is big because it does give her time to build up more energy on these Galarian Moltres V and make sure that once she starts attacking, she won't stop.
Yeah, it's huge for sure. And I wonder here if Azul will even risk putting a 3-prize Dark Week VMAX in play. And it looks like the answer to that question is no. Doesn't want to just give Natalie the easy boss's orders target, because Natalie can effectively, she only has to attack 2 times to win this game, Kyle. Once those VMAX Pokemon come into play, just 2 boss's orders or something, you know, at the right time, like an escape rope, like you mentioned, is all she needs to close things out. And right away, it is going to be the boss's orders. And looks like she's going to go ahead and get a hit off on this Alcremie VMAX, setting up for a 2-hit knockout.
Yeah, I don't mind this either. You're still going to get those 3-prize knockouts, and you know Azul has to put a Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX into play at some point. Like you said before, this deck does not function unless you're using Underworld Door. So if you can get this 3-prize knockout, and then it's just 1 more boss's orders, bring up the Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX that's sitting on the bench, that's your path to victory.
One play we could try to see Azul pull off here, with the 3 Shadow Rider VMAXs in play and an attachment for a turn, we could see a Miraculous Duo GX on the Mewtwo and Mew. Not only would it pick up this 1-hit knockout, it would leave a non-Dark Week Pokemon in the active spot, and it would heal all of the damage off of this Alcremie VMAX. But Azul draws into the out to the Mewtwo here, but doesn't draw any energy, but I just realized is going to be bailed out by the fact that Natalie's own Viridian Forest is in play.
That's right, yeah. We'll see how aggressive he wants to get with this.
It's a lot to draw here.
Yeah, no matter what, you can just, if you get the 3 energy, you can hit for 200, which is a knockout. And then Mewtwo and Mew GX is difficult to knock out. It does force Natalie to keep having those boss's orders to get knockouts. But he is going to be really reliant on this 2 cards from Underworld Door. He could clear up a bench spot later by using Marshadow's Resetting Hole to perhaps give him a chance to draw into like a Dedenne GX to continue his turn. But if he whiffs here, this is going to be an ugly turn.
Does find that Dedenne GX, and you can see Azul is really struggling with what to discard there on the Viridian. All of these cards are really good for him, and the main one, I think, Kyle, in this hand that we're seeing discarded right now is that Reset Stamp. Azul really wants to save that resource for later in this game, but is unable to, has to just keep going here at this point, has to keep digging, and has to try to find a way to get this KO.
All right, what's he going to draw off these 2 cards? Does find the 3rd energy, so can go with the Miraculous Duo GX. Just would do 200, does not heal off all the damage from his Pokemon, but is still a pretty solid play here.
So close to getting off the perfect play, I think, that he wanted to try to make happen this turn. He could also go for a G-Max Whisk. I don't really like that option nearly as much, though, because you leave this 3-prize Pokemon active that's, you know, so damaged already. So it's got to just be this Miraculous Duo. It does feel so bad to be so close to your ideal play and come up just short.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to go with the Mewtwo and Mew GX here. Just take the knockout, force Natalie to have a boss's orders to get a knockout on this turn, because if she doesn't, Azul's winning this prize race, right? He's now up 2 prize cards. Let's say Natalie attacks, doesn't get a knockout. You got to think Azul can get another 2 prize knockout, and then another one after that, and then it's just game over. So this really puts a lot of pressure on Natalie to draw the right cards. And
Natalie definitely could whiff the boss here. She's already got 2 Drizzles in play. Drizzles, excuse me. No Sobbles ready to evolve, and she has way less outs to find that Sword and Shield Inteleon compared to how many outs she has to find that that Drizzile, right? The level balls don't work as outs, and it looks like she is not going to be able to get that boss's orders. It is just going to have to be a Professor's Research. And we also see her powering up that Rapid Strike Urshifu V. You know, G-Max Rapid Flow is still a very strong attacking option, but you got to be really careful about when you put that in play.
Yeah, and this is a rough situation to be in. I mean, if your Rapid Strike Urshifu V makes it through the turn, yeah, you can set up for a 6-prize turn with that G-Max Rapid Flow, but I mean, Azul's got a bunch of cards in hand. He's got access to a bunch of Underworld Doors. You got to assume he's probably going to have a boss's orders. And if that Rapid Strike Urshifu V does go down, what's your game plan here? I guess if you could get 2 Inteleon in play this turn, you can rapid shooting the active twice, and then hit for 190. That would get you up to 230. Then it would be 2 more shootings on the next turn, but nope, just the one Inteleon. So Natalie's just going to hope that this Rapid Strike Urshifu V can make it through the turn.
And that's really her only out to win the game, is that this Rapid Strike Urshifu V sticks around. But we see Azul has a couple of Lysander Boss's orders in hand, ready to go, and you gotta think that's what he'll want to go with here. Azul's gotten through this deck very efficiently. It was a little bit stalled out there on the last turn, it looked like, but was able to claw back, and now is in a position where he'll just be able to draw so many cards with these Underworld Doors and has such a large hand. Definitely big time card advantage here towards Azul. Gets an energy attachment as well if he wants it, and I gotta think Boss's orders is coming out.
Yeah, you got to think that's the only way you can lose at this point, right? If your opponent gets to G-Max Rapid Flow, that's 6 prize cards right there. But without it, they can't really hit more than one Pokemon at the same time, right? So you just take this Max Geist knockout. It's also a situation where if your opponent wants to take a knockout with, let's say they attack with Inteleon, they would have to Boss's orders, which means they aren't playing Marnie. So unless Natalie has Reset Stamp, which I can't remember if she plays or not, I think Azul is pretty much got this game locked up.
And it looks like Natalie agrees with you, Kyle. Gonna go ahead and drop the well played, claim she wants to go first, and that's gonna be game 1 here of Losers Finals, going the way of Azul Garcia Griego. It seemed like it could have gone either way there early on, but Azul was able to just utilize those non-Dark Week Pokemon perfectly. The Mewtwo came in clutch. Didn't even use the Alcremie, but just having it in play kind of forced Natalie to use a Boss's orders on that turn, really try to deal with it. Natalie very easily could have won that game if she had found Boss's orders on that turn previous where she had to play Professor's Research, but because she was unable to do it, Azul was able to close the game out.
Yep, and Azul showing us exactly how to navigate a tough matchup. You saw, I think the moment of that game that was very important was when Azul had the option to evolve into a Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX and decided not to. If he had evolved into that, that would be a 3 prize liability that turn, and that could have changed the entire outcome of the game. But understanding that, no, if I don't evolve here, it actually takes away my opponent's path to victory. Just great awareness from Azul.
Yeah, and that's why he's one of the best in the game right now, Kyle. And Natalie here, with her back against the wall, has to win 2 games to make it into the grand finals. This was your pick, Kyle. I know you're rooting for her big time. Let's go ahead and get down to the game and see if she can make something happen. See if she can get that rematch, against Alex Szymanski in the grand finals, or if Azul will claim his spot there.
Yep, gotta say, love the Bidoof coin as well. Love seeing all these accessories out here.
Yeah, both of these players rocking the Bidoof coin and the Bidoof card sleeves, the Bidoof deck box as well. It feels like it's Bidoof Day all over again.
I wish, Chip. But we can go back to something that's important for this tournament. It is a closed deck list tournament. You don't have access to your opponent's exact deck list. So Natalie might be used to playing against, you know, kind of normal Shadow Rider Calyrex deck lists where there aren't all these weird tech cards. You don't expect to see this Marshadow. And against a lot of players, perhaps just the aggressive Galarian Moltres V strategy wins you the game on its own. But against someone like Azul, playing a lot of different tech cards, a lot of Pokemon that aren't weak to darkness, it really changes how you have to approach the matchup, and we might see Natalie adjust in game 2.
And right away, Natalie getting a couple Dark Energies in the discard pile. Going to get an energy attachment here as well. Also finding Viridian. Getting these Dark Energies down early is very key, because now it's much easier to just throughout the game, either with this Moltres or the second one that eventually will come into play, right? It's just so much easier to get those energy acceleration plays, make them happen. And Azul is going to get things going here. Has the Fog Crystal to get a Shadow Rider Calyrex V. And one thing about Natalie's start as well is that it does not allow Azul the option to go for Horror House GX. We see it wasn't something he wanted to do really in this matchup anyway, it seems like, based on how easily he could have done it in game 1. But I mean, if Azul just has a Dark Week Pokemon in the active spot, it's going down guaranteed next turn.
Yeah, you got it exactly. And yeah, it's an awkward thing to do in this matchup because you want to have access to Miraculous Duo GX later in the game anyway. So using your GX attack early can backfire pretty badly, but we do see Azul going for that all creamy V again, understanding that, all right, this is the Pokemon that when it's evolved into the VMAX, it does not get knocked out in one hit by Galarian Moltres V, so it's an important attacker. But in this game, Natalie's in a pretty good position to be able to just play a boss's orders and take down the Alcremie before it can evolve. So this is a lot different situation than we saw in the first game.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Azul could attach this energy to the Marshadow to play around that potential. That way it's much easier to pull off an attack there. It is still technically possible, and oh my goodness, 4 Psychic Energy, Kyle. That is not what you're hoping to see there off of a Dede change. Another key thing I do want to note really quick, that's 2 games in a row. Azul has had to discard Reset Stamp at an inopportune time.
Yeah, that can always be important in the late game, especially combined with Path to the Peak. That could be a way to shut down Galarian Moltres V. Sometimes 1 energy is all the difference, and that could be important later. But yeah, no access to Reset Stamp. Didn't matter in the first game, but we'll see if that comes up in the second game.
Yeah, it's always one of those cards. I mean, only playing 1 copy of. It's tough to find in Azul's list. It's easier whenever you're playing a deck like, you know, either Natalie or Alex Szymanski, where you've got these Drizzles. It's very easy to find those one-of trainer cards when you want them. As Natalie has an excellent turn here, doesn't get another Moltres in play. I think that's the main other thing she would have wanted, but does get the boss's orders KO, able to take out the Shadow Rider Calyrex V. Not going to target down that Alcremie, Kyle. Going to just try to take these easy knockouts right away, and not too worried, I guess, about the potential of Alcremie VMAX.
I think that makes sense because there's no way you can get knocked out this turn. Even if Azul gets 1 Shadow Rider VMAX and Alcremie VMAX, well, you can only hit for 120 with Gmax Whisk with 2 energy in play. So taking the energy off the board there, getting the easy knockout, and limiting the amount of potential Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX that are going to come into play is a big deal. But like you mentioned, Natalie has no backup Galarian Moltres V. There's no Sobble on board, which is very unusual. So she might have a pretty bad hand here and could be all in on this 1 Galarian Moltres V.
And it looks like Azul is just going to have to be forced to buy himself a turn here. Boss's orders brings up the Dene and Horror House GX. But I mean, what Azul's got to top deck something big time here. Otherwise, this hand is not going anywhere for him.
Yeah, his board is just ugly as well, right? It's 6 different Pokemon. There's only 1 Shadow Rider V, and that's not the card you want to draw.
No, Ordinary Rod, not helpful at this point. I mean, you could get a 2-prize knockout here with Poltergeist if Natalie has 4 trainers in hand, but this Gengar Mimikyu goes down right away.
Ooh, just 3.
Not quite enough for the KO, and one of those trainers was an air balloon, so this Dedenne can retreat pretty easily here. And we saw Natalie's hand was not great. Did have the Marnie. That has to have been what she top decked. I guess she could have had it last turn because she did play boss's orders for turn, right? But just a couple of Drizziels, and that's the reason we have not seen any Sobbles yet. She just didn't have any outs to them, but looks like is going to get things rolling here finally with some quick balls, and a couple Sobbles will hit the bench, or a Sobble and a Moltres, it seems.
Wow, and does decide to play the Marnie. That's a little surprising to me because Azul has shown he has absolutely nothing in hand. But perhaps Natalie just thinking, look, as long as I can attack the next 2 turns, I'm going to win. If I can just set myself up to draw boss's orders on the next turn. First of all, this Moltres might not even get knocked out because Azul can only attach 1 extra energy this turn, has none in play. There might not even be a possible way for him to get a knockout this turn. So.
And it looks like that's just going to be it. The quick ball top deck not doing it for Azul. And Natalie is going to force the game 3 here. This is getting really exciting here, Kyle. Not the best game on Azul's side of things. Obviously, the draws were not really there, but we're moving into a game 3. Both of these players stand a chance now to make it into grand finals and face off against Alex Szymanski once again.
Yeah, you can see how Natalie wants this matchup to go. You just get an aggressive Galarian Moltres V going, you target down the relevant Pokemon, you get quick knockouts thanks to weakness. We'll see if she can do it again.
Yeah, and Azul, I gotta wonder what could have happened in that game if he would have been able to fight back if he had, threatened that attach on that Marshadow on turn 1, threatened the return knockout on a Galarian Moltres. We see the way I think his hand didn't play out the best regardless, but it might have forced Natalie to go after that Alcremie as opposed to going after the, Shadow Rider, Calyrex V. I mean, all those little decisions really do impact the game as a whole, and we'll see exactly what kind of decisions impact this final game, Kyle. Let's get down to the table. Game number 3 coming up, and you gotta think Azul Garcia Griego is gonna wanna go first in this one.
Yeah, I would say pretty much everyone in this tournament has wanted to go first, and that will not change here. Especially when you have Pokemon VMAX in your deck. Just going first is such a big deal. You get to evolve on your second turn. Sometimes it can backfire. As we all know, you can't play a supporter card on your first turn when you go first, which can be devastating. And it looks like Azul is not going to get an energy attachment on his first turn, which is also very unfortunate when you're playing this kind of a deck.
That is definitely a key miss here. Does look like he's going to eye up the Mewtwo and Mew, maybe already committing to the Horror House GX next turn. Horror House GX is still a solid attack option, but just if you're not having to use the Gengar and Mimikyu being weak to Dark to do it. It does mean he would not be able to use the Miraculous Duo this game, however.
Yeah, I do think overall Mewtwo and Mew GX looks like a pretty strong attacker in this matchup. I can't remember. I think it was prized last game, which could explain how some of the things went downhill for Azul. But because it does not have a weakness to darkness, it has a lot of HP. There's really nothing in Natalie's deck that deals with it efficiently, and it can fire off attacks that can knock out Galarian Moltres V pretty easily. So we'll see how this goes, but Azul is going to play pretty aggressively with this Crobat V, hoping to find an energy card, and he does.
Yeah, I think that he values that energy attachment a lot. Really does open up the options because now if he does choose to go with the Horror House GX, he'll be able to fill his hand up potentially, of course, getting that additional effect of having the extra energy attached. Over on Natalie's side, she did start that one of Cobalion GX, so a turn 1 Iron Rule could come out here. Gives her another turn to utilize, the Dire Flame Wings, and we could see a turn 2 attack from Moltres without Azul being able to respond with an attack.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Iron Rule GX is all about the timing of that attack. You want to, I think it's more useful in the mid to late game where you can buy yourself extra turns to use Inteleon's quick shooting ability. Sure, it's nice early in the game to stop an attack, but usually the attacks that happen on like the second turn of the game aren't as impactful as the ones that happen on the third, fourth, fifth turn of the game. So looks like, yeah, this game, Natalie is just going to attach to the bench. Still no darkness energy in the discard pile, but there we go.
Viridian Forest coming in clutch right there. I love the fact that this card has started to see so much more play. And Natalie, with no dark energy in the discard pile, I think that's getting a second energy in the discard pile there would have been huge, especially since she got the air balloon attachment, because if Azul does go with the Horror House GX, he would have had the option to right away attack. And actually, Natalie would have had the option to right away attack.
Yep.
Thanks to getting the energy in the discard. And actually here, I think Azul will have to discard this Viridian with the Marshadow, right? Because you don't want to risk Natalie here drawing into a darkness energy, because while you can't play any cards from hand, she could still discard a card from hand with Viridian Forest.
Yeah, well, first of all, Azul needs to find Gengar and Mimikyu GX. It's not even here yet. So, oh boy, that is not a good hand. I don't think Azul has any attacking options this turn.
Doesn't look like it.
Nothing in the discard pile that Mewtwo and Mew GX can use. Yeah, only gets one more energy attachment. Doesn't even get a second Shadow Rider down. Is going to blow up the Viridian Forest, but there's, I guess, you could Pale Moon GX, but I don't think you want to do that.
Yeah, that is the only attack option there, and definitely not what you want to go with. And getting rid of the Viridian could slow Natalie down a little bit, but right away she does get the second Galarian Moltres. That's huge. Can go ahead and start getting multiple powered up. Once you, after turn after the first turn, you know, and you can start attaching to one, powering up the other one. Just doubling your energy attachments in play makes both of these birds such threats so quickly.
Definitely. We are seeing kind of a pause from Natalie. She must have a tough decision here. Like you said, getting rid of that Viridian Forest could be huge in this kind of a situation. You need to get those energy in the discard pile so you can Dire Flame Wings and get your Galarian Moltres V powered up. We'll see what Natalie decides to do here. This could be one of those situations where you have to go for Iron Rule GX if your hand isn't strong enough. And oh, we see the Rapid Strike Urshifu V come down. This looks like Natalie has a terrible hand. Oh no.
And that's what can just happen sometimes. Marnie's such a big card in the format, one of the main draw support options. And I mean, Azul normally would want to Marnie this hand, I feel like, because there's two pretty key cards in it, a Shadow Rider VMAX and the Alcremie. But I think off of Natalie's decision to not really do anything, or not, I shouldn't say decision, Natalie's inability to be able to do anything on her last turn. And Kyle, Natalie's only got 2 cards in hand, and we all know what that could mean.
The Night Watch is coming. That Trevenant and Dusknoir GX going to be using Mewtwo and Mew GX is going to be using that attack Night Watch, taking away the 2 cards. There was a Darkness Energy there, and now Natalie down to just the top deck for the turn. I think a lot of players have been in this situation. Night Watch takes away your entire hand, and you're just praying to top deck a Professor's Research.
It's so unfortunate. It seemed like Natalie was setting up very, very well this game, but just a timely Marnie from Azul. You know, he's just playing the card to refresh his hand more so than even worry about disrupting his opponent. Natalie just did not get anything going off of that, and now Azul in a dominant position, has Lysander Boss's Orders to work with, has an energy attachment for turn, can keep drawing cards with Underworld Door. This has potential to spiral out of control very quickly, Kyle.
Yeah, I just don't know if Natalie can even get through this Mewtwo and Mew GX anymore. With the Boss's Orders, we can see the Night Watch for a knockout. It's going to be 300 damage, and I don't think Natalie can even knock out Mewtwo and Mew GX in the next turn, even if Galarian Moltres V attacks, and it would walk right into the attack you've been waiting to see the entire tournament chip, the Miraculous Duo GX that would heal off all the damage. There we do see Night Watch for the knockout. Azul is going to go down to 4 prize cards and take a commanding lead in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and that Miraculous Duo coming out would be really exciting, but that is a huge top deck, Kyle. Professor's Research, the one card Natalie was hoping to see, and it comes to her. Professor's Research drawing a fresh set of 7 cards. Is this what she needs? Can she get back into this game?
Do you believe in unlikelihood? That was a huge top deck for Natalie. This could be the turn where we see the Iron Rule GX to kind of get some breathing room and perhaps set up some attackers for future turns. Has to be nerve-wracking knowing that the Miraculous Duo GX could come from Mewtwo and Mew GX on the next turn, so you don't really have a good attack into it. Ideally, you would want to wait until you have an Inteleon in play, but I don't know if Natalie has that luxury.
I'm not sure. She's going to go ahead and grab the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX out of the deck, and it looks like at this point just thinning it out, not going to value Gmax Rapid Flow as a potential option, just totally relying on these Galarian Moltres at this point in the game, and potentially Cobalion GX to bail her out. Let's see what the option is going to be, Kyle. And it's just going to be a sacrificial Sobble here, just going to force to be let that be KO'd, and Azul's got the Boss's Orders to respond to this.
Yeah, even though Azul hasn't had the best start, right, only got 1 VMAX into play, it's been enough. This Mewtwo and Mew GX has been doing all the work in this third and deciding game. And I think with this Boss's Orders, Azul is basically going to lock this game up. He can go after the Cobalion GX, take a knockout with Night Watch, and then if Natalie ever attacks with Galarian Moltres V, it'll just be in range for Mewtwo and Mew GX to knock it out, and that'll be the last 2 prize cards for Azul. So he seems to be in a dominant position. I certainly could be missing something here, but This one seems rough.
It doesn't look great at all. And it looks like actually Azul could... This is kind of an interesting play here, Kyle. Sending up this Shadow Rider Calyrex V. This is not going to get a knockout. Astral Barrage spreading the damage to the Cobalion on the bench, and also spreading damage to the Moltres here. Now, if Moltres ever attacks, it will deal even more damage to itself, making it so much easier to be KO'd. And this is a pretty easy 2 prizes here on the Cobalion.
Yeah, I think this is smart. You save your boss's orders. You still get the 2 prize knockout with Astral Barrage. You'll finish off that Cobalion GX on the bench and just say, all right, I have game in hand next turn. Your move.
And it is going to be on to Natalie to find something here. She needs to find a way back into this one. Azul, I think, deciding where that second 5 damage counters should go. Putting it on to Dene means that that's a boss's orders target for the Mewtwo to just be able to pick up the KO with the Night Watch. So I think that makes the most sense. And now Natalie, I mean, has to find a switch card as well. There's the Air Balloon, so that's at least a good start. But she'll be, even if she can get this knockout, she does not play Reset Stamp in her list.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot Natalie can do at this point. Missing that Iron Rule GX on the previous turn was devastating. She was already kind of in a tough spot, but yeah, we see the well played. That might mean the end for Natalie Millar in this Players' Cup 25th Anniversary Invitational. Gonna play it out, see what she can do, but yeah, this is just too rough of a start in this third game.
Yeah, she understands this game is all but over. Azul is very favored in this position. Even if she, even if Azul doesn't win the game next turn, she's down 6-2 prize cards. So it seems unlikely. Good sportsmanship, of course, congratulating Azul, giving him the well played. And I'm sure Azul is very excited now at this prospect, knowing that Boss's Orders is in hand, ready to go to close out the game. And there it is, the concession from Natalie. And Azul Garcia Griego will move on to the grand finals, where he will be playing off against Alex Szymanski.